If you hate me, blame Hermione Granger. Let me explain. Hi, my name is Ella, and I am nothing like my parents. If it wasn't for the shocking resemblance, you would not be able to tell that we're related. Well, maybe I am guilty of my dad's stubbornness a bit. Love you, Dad. I'm also the oldest of 3 siblings, also of which I'm nothing alike. It really makes me wonder, how did I get this way? Several glaring parts of my personality are completely unique to me and not my other family members. Firstly, I arguably care too much about academics, probably because of my crippling fear of failure. I am loud, begrudgingly determined to get what I want, while also being acutely aware of other people's feelings. I would say I know my family pretty well. We're close. But I've never been able to detect any of these traits in them, so it makes me wonder, who was this mysterious role model that made me so different from my sisters? Hear me out. I was a bookworm. My aunt bought me Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone in the Christmas of my 1st grade, and I proceeded to read the novels, the entire series, 9 times over. These characters were my friends, and Hermione represented me within the narrative. She was smart, brave, and determined, and I feel like subliminally, she might have influenced my personality. Here lies the inspiration behind my research. How does reading about Hermione Granger affect development, and more specifically, the development of young girls? I've engaged with a number of sources from both psychology and English to discover potential links between Hermione and development. I then surveyed 10 female participants who read the novels for the first time between the highly critical developmental ages of 6 and 12, many of whom have read the novels more than once, who also self-identified as relating to Hermione. My research draws off work by Rita Felski, who explains that people can feel as connected to a film, a painting, or a novel as they do to a social group or a collective. Although the connection is not always positive and can pander to delusions that we have about ourselves, I was most interested in her work on identification with characters. These ties can either be ironic or sentimental. They can have the ability to confound or remake our sense of selves. It's important to stipulate that identifying with a character does not mean that you're identical to them. I'm not a witch, like as much as I wish that I was. Readers can adopt parts of a character's personality into their own. When you think about obsessively reading novels at such a critical developmental age, it is plausible to think that readers can recognize themselves in a character, to the point that they even lose parts of themselves. As readers grow, this identification can continue, and in some cases, readers author fan fiction that further equates the character to themselves. Now, this is something I haven't done because me and Hermione are already the same person, so there's no need. I also engaged with a paper that discusses the impact of books on young readers before the age of phones. Now, all of my participants are obviously Gen Z, but they grew up in an age where phones, tablets, YouTube, and Netflix were not the cultural phenomena that they are today, suggesting that some of the arguments in this paper can still reign true, especially if they were fans of a specific series or character and then read these novels multiple times over. The deep impact of books for children is the construction of the lens through which they view the world. It's common for adults to rely on this lens and want to stay connected to their childhood by continuing to engage in the novels that help to shape this. For several of my participants, including myself, the relationship between themselves and the novels is one of the first relationships a child facilitates on their own. Even if it is an adult that puts the book in their hands in the first place, it's still a very personal relationship between the child and the text. That relationship is one that parents have no part in. It's not one where parents facilitate a playdate because they're friends with another set of parents, because I know that we've all been there. I have uncovered 5 highly plausible links between Hermione's representation in the novel and personality traits that are evident in me and 10 female participants. Without further ado, let's discuss why some girls that identify with Hermione may be the way that they are today. All of my participants reported that they thrive in structure, and I completely agree. Even if school is not the structure that they prefer, they all create some kind of structure for themselves, whether that be a planner or maybe some very rigid daily routine. For Hermione, structure is a safety net. Obviously, she thrives in school. She gets great grades and she's always on top of her homework, but she also makes structure for herself. Anytime there's final exams in the novel, which is actually shockingly little, Hermione makes talking revision schedules. To be fair, she does develop more recklessness as they get older and Harry's quest becomes more dire. Like in the Deathly Hallows, when she's hunting for Horcruxes with Harry and Ron, the first thing she does when they arrive in a new place is cast the protective enchantments around the camp. She also makes schedules to see who's going to stand watch when, and also how long they're going to wear the Horcrux around their neck. But it's not just the success of her structures that encourage readers to do the same. It's the fact that whenever her structures are broken, bad things happen. Like the scene where she is trapped in the bathroom with the troll. That was not in any kind of plan, and Hermione kind of shrinks. To be fair, she's 11 and brand new to the world, but it contrasts the fierce girl that she had already established herself to be and the one that young girls already admired. Flash forward to the Deathly Hallows again, when Ron wears the Horcrux on his neck for way too long, and he freaks out on Harry and Hermione and just abandons them. It enforces that structure and predictability are safe and allows young women to thrive. Now this is the one I'll be bringing up in my next therapy session. All of my participants identified a fear of failure, and that this fear of failure largely motivated them to do well in school. Let's look at Hermione for a sec. She's Muggle-born and brand new to the wizarding world. Obviously, she wants to prove that she belongs, and no one can tell her she doesn't belong if she's top of the class. Well, Malfoy thinks he can, but he's got his own issues. When Hermione looks at herself, she does not necessarily think that she's brave, but she does identify books and cleverness as her strengths, indicating this is what she believes she can bring to the table. This is something directly equated to her work ethic and therefore something that she can control. This fear of failure comes from building up her entire identity on how well she does in school. Her Boggart, which is a magical creature that shapeshifts into the viewer's worst fear, is literally Professor McGonagall telling her that she failed a test. Because little girls look up to Hermione and her power, and Hermione's power is equated to her academic success, of course little girls are going to want to emulate that. It equates power to academic success, and it's kind of no wonder girls that wanted to be like her fear academic failure too. Hermione is confident in her magical abilities as the story goes on, but similar to the last category, when she does make mistakes, she kind of deflates. Now, this is a human response and is completely fine, but it's like her shine momentarily diminishes. Think about when she got her OWL results back and she got the real world equivalent of a B in Defense Against the Dark Arts. She was really upset. When she accidentally broke Harry's wand in the attack in Godric's Hollow, she was like really afraid to tell him that it happened. This is not the Hermione that young girls initially looked up to, and therefore readers want to avoid being in similar situations. In other words, be perfect, which is not feasible and probably not healthy. All of my participants identified that they were compassionate, even compassionate to a fault. Now when Hermione sees an injustice, she does whatever she can to ratify it, even if others give her a hard time. For example, she created an organization. I say that loosely because the only people she got to join it were her friends, and that was rather begrudgingly. The organization was called SPEW, Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare. To her, house elves were slaves, and obviously being from the Muggle world, she knows that this is wrong. She doesn't even waver when Ron makes fun of her, and we all know how she secretly felt about Ron. She does not succumb to peer pressure. Hermione contains generosity of character. which embodies involved attitude and action. Think about how she took the fall for Ron and Harry when they came to help her stop the troll in the Philosopher's Stone. She had absolutely no obligation to take the fall for them. I mean, it was Ron's fault she was even in the bathroom in the first place. But she does it anyway because she knows that they saved her and she had to defend the actions that she knew were vital. In Chamber of Secrets, she knows that the basilisk is only attacking Muggleborns, yet she still goes out and risks her own safety to get information to help her friends and her school as a whole. She does push back against authority here, but she does end up figuring it out and saving the school, even though she does get petrified. As an oldest sibling, it seems obvious I feel responsible to care for my loved ones, especially my younger sisters, and I absolutely do. I will do whatever I can to make sure my sister's dreams come true. Except continue to live in my hometown. I will not do that. But I also feel super responsible to be there for my parents and my friends, and all of my participants felt the same way. We all have this in common with Hermione. Hermione is a Gryffindor, so her loyalty is inherently implied. But the responsibility she feels for Harry and Ron runs deeper than this. The novelist knew Harry's vocalization, and it's almost as if he paints Hermione as a mother figure to make up for his lack of a mother. I mean, the amount of comparisons he makes between Hermione and Mrs. Weasley are many, and Mrs. Weasley is the most stereotypical mother in the series. In this interpretation, it is literally her job to take care of her friends. Readers learn to look for Hermione for the answers exactly as they would look at a mother figure. We can see this in literally every scene that the Golden Trio are together. I mean, even when she was petrified and couldn't move or speak, Harry and Ron still go to her, and she still somehow provides the answers. Her ability to always provide the answers and be the hero is obviously super inspiring. Of course little girls want to be like her, therefore they want to be relied upon by their loved ones too, and they feel the pressure to deliver. Her loyalty and contributions to Harry's quest also ensures that she avoids any gender marginalization. Harry does not feel like she has to be babied because of her gender. She's going to always work to ensure good happens and prevails over evil. It allows her to be nurturing without being subjected to these unfair gender stereotypes. It shows young readers that with persistence, they can make sure that the right thing happens. Readers do not conflate her compassion with her womanhood, but instead with her power, therefore encouraging them to do the same. I don't know if you've noticed through my inflection throughout this video, but I'm a loud person. But it's not just my inflection. I tend to say exactly what's on my mind. This is a real clip of me in every classroom I've ever been in. Because I feel like I'm always the loudest person in the room, I was actually surprised to find out that none of my participants found speaking up to be difficult. Kind of likely we learned this behavior from Hermione. Now Hermione has flaws, but being shy is definitely not one of them. And you know what? She gets rewarded. Hogwarts gives out house points for good behavior, and Hermione often wins house points for giving the correct answers in class. This is literally classical conditioning for readers. Speak up and get rewarded. There are instances in which her professors are not impressed with her quick wit. Remember when Snape called her an insufferable know-it-all for giving him the correct answer in class? I don't even care. Snape is not a redeemable character to me. Now, in the movie, her classmates agree with Snape, but in the books, Ron stands up for her saying, "You asked a question and she knew the answer." You can cut. She shows that speaking up can gain the respect of your peers. Now, it is unfair to say that Hermione only speaks out in class. She speaks up against authority too. There was this really crazy plot point in the Goblet of Fire where she finds out that Rita Skeeter is transforming into a bug illegally to get information about her gossipy stories. Hermione finds this out and then literally traps Rita Skeeter in a jar and tells her she won't let her out until she promises to not do that stuff anymore. And when she does eventually let her out, she says if she ever does it again, she will reveal her illegal animagus status. Now, blackmail and kidnapping are totally illegal. But this is an example of Hermione standing up against authority when she sees something that isn't fair. And you know what? She gets results. Readers are implicitly taught that speaking their mind will reap rewards. This combats shyness, especially when faced with various patriarchal oppressors that discourage young women from speaking up. The truth is, there are lots of extenuating factors that contribute to our personality development. But if you were as big of a fan of these books as I clearly was, then there's definitely some food for thought here. Even if it isn't Hermione that you related to, look at the personality traits of other characters, not just from these novels, but any novels that you were a huge fan of. I'm sure that there are some Katniss Everdeen lookalikes out there, I promise. For many, looking at the connections that you have with Harry Potter can be really hard right now, especially considering J.K. Rowling's trans-exclusionary comments. Just to be clear, I do not in any way endorse the comments that J.K. Rowling has made. And in all honesty, I'm not that fond of her as a person from the comments that she's made online. But I really can't deny the impact that Hermione has had on me. So what about you? Will you be bringing up Hermione in your next therapy session? I know I will. All I can say to end this off is that if you don't like me, you can just go right ahead and blame Hermione Granger. And I'll also say that I don't really care. Because I really like Hermione's character, and therefore I really like my character. So, yeah, all done.